Now, this little Toyota has had a ton of aftermarket support to it, mainly on the exterior, but I mentioned that I wanted to do something to the rear seats, and I never got around to it. So in this video, we are going to do something to the rear seats, and it's going to be really, really cool. Now, this car has a set of sort of semi-bucket Recaro seats in the front. They're actually from an old Vauxhall, and I think they suit the car pretty well. It looks pretty period correct, some would say. But originally, this car would have a old bench seat, which would have folded up, like so you can load all your luggage in the back. But what we're going to do is make sure that these Recaro seats actually fit in the back. So we have 4 semi-little bucket seats in this little toaster machine, which, as you can imagine, is not really a bolt-in application. So we're gonna have to custom make it, and to help us do that is the internal base of the original foam seat. Now, I've already pulled all of the material off the original seat, and this is what's left, and that is what we're gonna build our seat bases off of. Now, this is gonna be tricky because it's not really straightforward, and the mounting points for the original seat are directly in the middle, because this seat would originally slide and move forward and flip all at the same time. So there's the original mechanism. This is the only mounting point for the seat factory. Underneath the seat is the petrol tank. So we need to base all of our seat mount on this middle slider rail, which means this big shiny bit needs to be cut apart because we've got to fit 2 bucket seats on it. Now, some of you may be a little confused because the car is now on the floor and it wasn't the last time you saw it. And I've done a lot of work to make it sit the way it sits right now, but we're still not finished. But that will come at a later date, and I will show you. But we're just focusing on the interior for now. These seats are quite heavy. Now, I do some stupid things, and I always say yes because it's just metal at the end of the day. But this is the first time I've looked at it and gone, this is going to be awkward, because not only have we got to get this to mount onto there, we've also got to make sure that this seat isn't really high up, because otherwise you're not going to be able to sit in the back. Now, this seat already has a set of seat rails on the bottom. They were electric, and we're going to get rid of all of that. That's what I'm hoping that we can do. We can actually just bin off all the rails on this, hard mount them to this seat base, and then if we need to slide the seat backwards and forwards, we can do it with the original rail on the BB, because, yeah, you pull this, it slides, you see? There's no mounting point out here. This base here just needs to be flat against the floor. So we're gonna have to make a frame that comes off of this slider out here to support these seats. But yeah, it's gonna be super tricky to do it properly. And I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And this is always the case with all these videos. When I'm doing something obscure or fabrication or weird, 9 times out of 10, I just go with the flow. So it makes filming these videos really, really hard because I don't know what's going to happen next. And to overcome that, I film about 7 hours worth of footage of me just doing stuff, and then I had to clip that down into about half-an-hour segments. So yeah, we are going to have a base plan, cut this big shiny silver bit off, so we're left with the middle frame. And then once we've got the middle frame, strip these seats back and just go with the flow. Let's get cracking. Now, the majority of this rear bench seat is held together with spot welds and rivets. So I got the drill out and started drilling all of those out, and then I moved on to cutting the actual base away from the frame. that is stuff and things. I'm going to cut this bit off as well, so I don't need that, and it's in the way. Done. While I'm here, strip these seats back. Right, let's get this frame in the seat. So this sort of goes like that, and it latches in, and that mechanism usually allows you to tilt it forward. There's a couple of bolts down here. Or this one, pull it, slide in and out. And when it's bolted down, it's obviously secure. Now we have to build a frame outwards to support the seats. We need this seat to be sort of as far back as it can go, roughly there. I need to figure out where it's all going to sit, because I think the seat actually needs to sit on top of the frame, which is annoying because I wanted to get it as low as I could. But yeah, let's try a seat in. I think that might work. So yeah, my plan was to always get that rear seat to be as low as the front seats, basically. So the front seats are at that height. It's going to be quite hard to see, actually. But the rear seat is slightly higher. Now, we're sort of limited to how low we can go because of the frame. This mechanism and sliding mechanism underneath is all sort of in the way, but we need it because if we don't use this mechanism, we have to drop the fuel tank out and make a lot of brackets underneath here to mount the seats. But yeah, everything is going to mount off those middle seats there, and we've got to build outwards. And it's going to be quite difficult to make them both fit as low as they possibly can do. At the moment, we can probably only drop it down like another 10 mil. So we're going to try with that. Okay, so some time's passed, and as usual, as I put the camera down and thought that's my plan, that plan changed as soon as I got the frame on the bench, and I'll tell you the reason why. I wanted to, you know, bring the base of this seat mount down to this level here, and I thought, yeah, I'll just cut that off, and then we can have a much lower seat, and this would sit inside the seat, and it would all be good. But obviously, I really, as I was stood here and here, I didn't think about these leverage points for the arms, so that has to stay there, that has to stay there. So we are going to have to go off this platform here and build outwards, and spend some time just drawing it all out, exactly what I want to do, something like this. So this is the center point, we're going to have the seat mounts here and here, this is this box here, so that is going to go like that. So yeah, I've got a lot of cutting to do. I have a bunch of 25 by 50 box section, so just here. It may look like a lot, but when you've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like it all adds up. So yeah. up. You can actually get them further apart if we really want to. That's quite nice. Yeah. Fits about right. Now to see if that works in the car. Definitely going to add this into the video because it's reality. I've overlooked one very important measurement and it's bit me in the arse because, well, they didn't fit how I thought they would, but it's okay, I can fix it. Let me just show you. Seats are in, obviously they fit, but if you look here, you know, we've got like a couple of mil to this rear plastic, a couple of mil to that rear plastic, and look at the seats, they're basically touching together. Now I was going off of the thought process that we could actually spread those two seats a lot further out. So the frame that I've made is a lot wider than it needs to be, which is not too bad because we've only tacked it and we can actually just cut it off, narrow the frame and put it back on. But yeah, that was slightly annoying, some would say. Some would say that was annoying and I would agree, but put it in the video because it is a reality. Measure lots and lots of times and then measure again and then measure again and then just double check because you get into situations like this. But it's okay, we won't really waste any material, so yeah, just annoying. So, seats are now bolted in with one bolt each. They're not perfectly in there, but yeah, I've just bolted it in for now. Now I know the seats are close together. They should definitely 100% fit in the back there because that gap is now small enough. The one thing I can do now is obviously take the seats off there and then we need to French it onto the frame. All we've got to do is make sure the frame sits flat with the box section all the way across, all the way that way as well. So I can actually do that on the bench. Now the hard bit is finally done. Right, so this is what I mean when I need to make it fit, because it doesn't currently fit over the top of the frame. Because, yeah, you can probably see there, that doesn't fit. Now this has to be in line with this little box section right here. So I already knew that this was going to intervene. Obviously we've shortened it, so we need to shorten like an inch off of here. Anyway, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to do some cutting and join you in a second. Oh, lots of trimming later. Ah, nice. And we can tack this onto here basically. Winning. It is so Monday today. You can probably see it in the clips. I've made a bit of an error. You know what I was saying a minute ago, how you should measure, 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 and then measure again, then measure again? I should have listened to my own advice because I nearly had one terrible mistake. But I've actually had a extremely lucky mistake because I did a little calculation wrong. And some of you may have already seen it already, but I'm not quite sure. See if anyone can see it right now. I'll give you a second. Well, I'm going to tell you. Look, this bar here, 360 mil. This bar, I wrote it on it, 410. That one's 360, and that one's 410. So when I cut it off and I twisted it, one of these is upside down and the wrong way around. Now what is really lucky about this is 360 plus 50 equals 410. So no matter what way it goes, it's still going to be the same measurement. So 410, 360. However, it is slightly different because it's going down on that one and then across on that one. I'm just very lucky that it all actually adds up together. I think I'd have probably noticed if it was like out, but because the measurement was exactly the same, I didn't actually notice. But yeah, that's quite funny. It's all welded together now, so I'm not going to change it, but yeah, it's trimmed out, ready for these little hooks up here. Hopefully we can get it all together and it works. And we now have a metal frame that is starting to look like a real thing. I've added these little rounded edges on both sides like I did say I was going to. There's a few more things I need to do, but I have to shoot out. And I realise I've made another mistake, but it's okay because we're going to fix it. The BB right here, I need to pack it away and we need to go home. And I've left it with the doors open, radio playing, interior lights on all day. But now, if we go inside, completely dead battery. But luckily for me, that is no longer a problem because the guys at Topdon have actually sent me a little package and it's a little portable boost pack which we're going to test out for the first time. Now, I have already opened this just to see what was inside, but I've not actually tested it on a car yet, so I've not charged it up or anything like that. But what I do like about it is that it comes in a tiny little case, so you can literally just chuck that in the boot. If you're going on a road trip abroad, take this with you. You're never gonna have to worry about a dead battery because there's nothing worse than being stranded with a dead battery. The fact that it's in a little tiny case, big win. Yeah, pretty simple stuff this. So attach that to there. Once you've got them on the battery, plug it in at the mains. So yeah, 100% charge. If we click this button here, the boost, hold it down, see it clicked and went green. Should be able to just start that right now. We put that here. Perfect. There we go. Now I know what you're thinking, of course it was going to start it. That engine is tiny. It's a little 1.4 Toyota Yaris engine. Can we put this to a proper test? And here is our proper test. This is a E34 M5, and this one in particular has the 3.8 litre straight six S38 engine. It hasn't actually run since 2022. It's been in storage. It has a completely dead battery, as you can see. So let's put it to the test. Now this shouldn't be a problem for this boost pack because this boost pack actually supports up to 9 litre petrol engines or 7 litre diesel engines. Click it on to boost, it already is. sweet, sweet S38. Now we've discovered that this is a very capable jump pack, but this is actually going to help you in more regions than you actually realize. Now let's paint the picture. You're driving through the middle of nowhere, your phone's died, you pull over, the car dies, it's completely pitch black outside, no street lamps. What do? Well, if you have this in the boot, you're going to be all sorted, because if you hold this button down here, the power button, you get a little LED light on it. Now it's not just an LED, it also has 3 LED flashlight modes, and it has 10 protection technologies built in. And yes, it does get better, because this actually doubles up as a power bank. Now this has a 24,000 mAh capacity, it also has a USB this side, and a USB that side, so you can charge your phone wherever you need to be. Now this specific model is the Topdon JS3000, and I'm going to be taking it quite literally everywhere with me, because it's so powerful, so handy, and it's so small. So thank you very much, Topdon, for sending it out to me. And if you want to grab one of your own, just go in my link in the description, and that can show you exactly where to buy your own. Do yourself a favor and don't get stranded at the side of the road. Thanks again, Topdon.
The next day.
Look at this. This is a real thing. The reason I rounded off those corners at the back is because you can see it when you're at the back of the car. It's bolted in. So this is going to be a nightmare to actually bolt into the car, because I've had to put it on there, lay on the floor, put the bolts in. The reason I've bolted it on properly now, like had to proper secure it, is because we need to get the final 2 bars in. So you can see this rail here and this rail here. This one's actually, well, below. Need to lift this side of the seat up because it's not bolted in, and it's not giving us an accurate reading. But obviously I need to make sure it's in the perfect spot, because we're dealing with a very small tolerance. So I need to obviously get this on their back now with the frame attached, and then we can put the 2 final bars in. But let me just show you how weird this is. So strange. Click. Yeah, now I need to... How am I going to do this? It's heavy. There you go. Okay, now put the bars in here. Just. This could be fun. Right. Bars in the middle, quite fiddly to get to. Like I said before, this is going to be a struggle to get this in the car. One thing to note is that the seats are sort of bent. You can see that rail, the seat rail, is sort of like in, a bit pissed, because it's just been bent and tweaked over the years. That one is a little bit twisted as well. So when you've got them in a like nice, adequate position where they sit flush at the bottom, it just wants to twist because of the seats. Same again with this one. This one's flush, but it's at a bit of an angle, not as much as this one. So I'm going to try and tack it and tweak the seat all at the same time. Yeah, sort of thing I'm having to deal with right now. Tricky. Right, they're all mounted up, and I've been doing my head in like, there's something wrong here. Why is my measurements all wrong? So, nice gap between them. If you look here, I was like, that one's so much higher. I was like, why is it so much higher? Turns out these seats were electric, and all the motors have sort of been taken out of them. And if you stand here, well, you can see the bases are flat against the floor, but this one is pushed up, and then that one is sat flush. Now I need to figure out how to, get the seat flush at the back there, because it doesn't fit. But other than that, it's all straight, squared up. So now I'm going to pull this off for like the 10 millionth time, and then get them all welded up fully, and we'll give this whole thing a lick of... No, we won't. There's something else I want to try and do before we put this in there. All welded in. Now, let's try it into the car, and I'm going to try and add something that I think is going to be a good idea. Right, so frame's in, everything is all bolted down, literally fully bolted down, so it slides back and forth, does the old flip, back in. It's actually pretty sturdy. Now, I had sort of a thought that because there's so much leverage from here to here, that this would be a bit flexible, but like, it's got a tiny bit of flex, but hardly anything. But the original seat actually had these wheels, and I can only imagine that they are just to, you know, weld onto the frame. So when it rolls across, it acts as a support at the same time, and you can still slide it. So I've cut these off. I've like basically modified them, and they're going to sit in here, and I'm going to weld them on. I'm going to tack them in the car, make sure it all rolls nicely, and then obviously I'm going to weld it on outside the car, and then that is it for this frame really. We'll get some paint on it, and it will be done. But yeah, basically like that. Pretty good. Original-ish is what I like to call it. Very nice. Now, after measuring a million times, cut a million times, undoing the work I did, then redoing it again, these caster wheels were the very last thing that needed to be welded to the frame. And it looks pretty good, so I stuck a coat of primer on it. For that, I'm giving it a couple of coats of epoxy primer from Pro XL. Then I'm giving it a couple of coats of gloss black, let that dry a little bit, and then I chucked a bunch of coats of clear coat on there, just to make sure it was nice and shiny. So I let it dry overnight, because in the next morning we was actually going to see what it was going to look like in the flesh. Now, once the seat base was carefully placed into position, it looks pretty good. I moved on to figuring out why the seat is so high off the ground, and turns out the seat does have an electric motor in it, so I put some power to it, and lo and behold, it actually does work. Next thing to do was to remove all of the old Vauxhall seat belts, because number one, they're cut, and number two, they're horrible and ugly. Got those all back together, and then I installed the original BB seat belts, and they were pretty much a bolt-on application. Then it was just time to just chuck the seats into the base and not scratch any of the frame, which was easier said than done, because yeah, it was a very difficult seat to install. You have no room to get your hand underneath it, but I figured it out in the end, and yeah, the seats are in for the first and final time. That looks so sick. Let me show you. Safe to say, I'm happy with how it looks. Now, that was a lot of work to get it in there. I think the measurements are absolutely perfect. I think if we went any lower, we wouldn't have even been able to get them as far back as they could, because if you look at the edge of the plastic there, so the seat's basically touching, and again that side, seat's basically touching. And because the plastic's sort of like bow in, we wouldn't have been able to bring the seats as far back as they are. So yeah, really happy with it. Obviously all gloss black, nice and painted. Good job I, rounded off these edges here, because I think it makes it look really, really nice. Gloss black frame, original seat belts in there, nice and tight together, good height. They are electric, obviously, as you saw, but I don't think we need to do anything with them, because the electric only sort of lifts the seat, doesn't adjust the bolster or anything like that. Obviously we've got the they'll pump up bolsters, so you don't need to do anything with that. This literally just goes up and down with the seat, and you don't need them any higher. They're a little bit higher than the front, but here's what it is. The wheels, lovely little addition, really happy with those. And then from here, you can't really even see the frame until you get to about here. So yeah, dead chuffed with how it's come up. The seats are really, really dirty. They need a wet vac. They've got like mud on them, like coffee stains and all that sort of stuff. Need to fix this area here, but these seats do come up every now and then, but they're very cheap when they do come up, but they are actually a really comfy, nice seat. So I think it really fits the interior of the car as well. So really, really happy with how they look. So you let me know how they fit. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you how they work. It's so cool. The seats are actually like really firm in there. They're actually a lot firmer than the fronts. So if we get the slider down the front here, more boot space for everyone. Slide it back, very good, clicked into position. Bring it all the way forward, right? I know it's pretty useless, but it might help in the future. We can now lift the seats, they just clear the roof, and they go like that, which is pretty cool. Another thing is, they are 3-door seats. So, you can tilt them forward as well if you really want to. If you want to get something out the boot or something a bit bigger, I don't know. It's just cool that it's got all the stuff. And they work. Original seat belts work as well, so really chuffed with them. It's come out really, really nice. Happy. And of course, this car also now looks really, really cool because they've made it sit a lot nicer. It's a lot lower than it was before it turned up. It's got a fair bit of camber on it now, and it looks actually so cool. I'm so happy with it, but it needs a clean, it all needs a wet vac inside, it needs a full detail. It was always on the plan, but it turned up quite dusty before it turned up, so don't worry about it, I'll get it sorted. I've been busting balls trying to get this done because that Honda Accord Euro R needs to go on the ramp, and this has been stuck on the ramp, so I needed to get this done, move in and roll in. So I've been busting balls on this day and night, getting it as close to finish as possible so that can go on the ramp. So let me know if you want to see some videos on this. It's literally getting a full underside restoration. Not really much to it apart from pulling it apart and putting it back together nice and shiny and painted all underneath. So let me know if you want to see that. But yeah, that's it for now. Let me know what you think about the BB. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I'll see you shortly.